Okay, Inkscape Concepts Part 1. So this is going to be a multiple part series. At this point, I don't know how many parts it's going to be because we'll see. There's a lot of content here. Please pay attention to this. I would say that Inkscape overall, what you do here can save you is the area that's going to save you the most frustration later on in the process when we get to Clender. Because when you send what you're doing in Inkscape through the Clender, if you didn't do it properly, you're going to get errors and it's going to get frustrating and you're going to want to quit. Okay? So take my advice and listen. I'm going to try to stop these videos about 5 minutes each. So each part will be 5 minutes, but this is a concept series, okay? So concepts, okay. Inkscape shapes. They determine, okay, when you draw out these shapes, they determine the appearance and behavior of the ground in the game, okay? They don't control the plants, they don't control the trees. You do that later on in Unity. They control the appearance and behavior, which means, hey, if you draw something that is a fairway, it's going to look like a fairway in the game, and it's going to behave like a fairway in the game, right? That's the default. So when you draw a fairway in Inkscape, when you pull it into Unity, Unity will say, okay, you drew this as a fairway, so I'm going to make it look and behave like a fairway. But you can override that on a shape by shape basis. So if you draw a fairway and decide you want it to behave like rough, you can absolutely do that. But drawing these things with what you expect them to be in game will save you a lot of time and prevent you from doing manual overruling. Let's just call it that. Shape order, the hierarchy is extremely important in Inkscape because shapes that are on the very top will cut through the shapes that are beneath them. Okay, so on top, you typically have things like your cart paths because they're going to cut through everything that's underneath them. If they go over top of a fairway, if they go over a rough area, deep rough, whatever, they're going to cut down through them. So cart paths are typically all the way at the top. Shapes on the very bottom get cut by all the shapes above them. Okay, I'm going to show you that in a video or a demo here in a second. You can organize your shapes for various means. You can group them into folders, and you can call those folders whatever you want. I call them holes. It's a kind of a legacy thing, but you don't need to do it by holes. You can do it by areas of the course. You could say this is the northeast area and all the shapes that are in there, and you could have that folder called northeast. You could just have 4 folders for your entire course. The experienced designers, the guys, the Patreon guys that do this for a living, they don't do any folders. They just start drawing shapes, but they also mentally know how to organize those things and how to troubleshoot. So if you don't use folders, you might have some confusion later on when you try to find things or understand how things are organized. It's totally your call. That's also why we're doing just a couple holes first, so then you get an idea of how this works, and then you can make decisions on your own how you want to organize things. You can rename shapes, okay? I don't recommend it because it's going to do you nothing later on. So when you draw something and it's called, shape 5, and you name it fairway 5, hole 2, guess what? That doesn't carry over to Unity. It just gets disappeared and wiped out. So guess what? Doesn't matter. So don't waste your time renaming them. You can if you want, all the power to you, but don't waste your time. So let me show you this quick. Where to go? So here is TPC Harding Park. Now this is a finished Inkscape, okay? This is what you will be doing, and this is the end product. And I just want to show you a couple things. So first of all, you can see over here how I organize this, and you can see that there's 29 holes. Well, not. There's 18 holes on the course, but I just went through and as I started drawing, I kind of did things area by area, and I put them into holes. So you can see if I turn off, for example, hole 26, it's this little area right in here. You do not need to get this granular, okay? This is just the way that I like to do it. Again, like I said, some people don't do any folders whatsoever. If I expand this, you can see all the paths in here. So here's hole 29, and if I turn that on and off, you can see it looks like the driving range in there, okay? I could have renamed this and called this, I could call this driving range instead. So I could rename this to, you can't see the pop-up, it's off screen. Now it's called driving, okay? So I could call these things anything I want. And you can see that when I draw these, they're called paths, all right? I could rename those and say bunker on driving range. Waste of time though, I'm gonna tell you that right now. Some other things in here. let me bounce back to my presentation. Let me see what I just talked about. Hierarchy, okay? So at the very top, this folder and all the shapes within it, okay, are my cart paths. You can see they're on top of everything else in this list. So they will cut through anything that's underneath them, my cart paths. Pretty much they're always on top. And you can see I have my lakes. My lakes are the next thing in the hierarchy, which means they'll cut through everything that's underneath them, and so forth, all the way down the line until I get to my satellite overlays, which are the things that are in the very bottom. Okay, so that's important. That hierarchy, very important. I talked about organization. Okay, so this video is 5 minutes long, so I'm going to call this part 1, and go ahead and grab yourself a beer, coffee, whatever time of day it is, and move on to the next part.